Hi everyone, in this video I would like to show you how you can add this table to a LaTeX document simply by using pandas in Python. So in this video we're going to see how we can generate the table completely using Python and pandas, export the table to a text file and then import it with LaTeX. So this is going to be the final outcome. So we're going to have a manuscript, which we have a title, abstract, methodology. So this is just a placeholder text, so ignore that for the moment. I just want to show you how you can add this table, which looks very nice and is completely programmatically generated. You don't have to do anything, you don't have to type the table yourself into LaTeX. You just export the Pandas data frame. In addition, I would like to show you how to generate this table, which is even nicer because, it depends on your usage, but in this case, you actually have a multi-level index column. As you can see here, I'm grouping like this input data and then I have different inputs, and then I have all the values inside here. So I will show you step by step how to generate both tables, and let's see how I've structured the file. So first thing first, we need to write the Python code. So the Python code, in this case, I kept it very simple. I'm just importing pandas and I'm importing OS. The only reason why I'm importing OS, you don't really need it. It's just because my file is in this current working directory inside data, and that's the name of my file. So this is just OS is only needed to open the file. So let me run these 2 lines of code here. So I get the import the data. I just want to show you the data. It's just an example. You can use any data you want. It doesn't really matter that you don't really have to use this data, but just to show you, this is a timestamp data, and I'm actually, participants were completing some surveys, and I was recording the CO2 level in the space when participants were completing the survey. Doesn't really matter which type of data. This is just about how to get the data frame into LaTeX. You can use your own data. So in this case, I'm grouping by the user ID, so the person who completed the survey. I'm looking at the CO2 value, and I'm using the function describe, so I'm going to get a summary of the data. Again, it's just to get something to show you. So in this case, I converted this data frame into this summary of the data. And for instance, you can see how many times each participant completed the survey. You can get the mean CO2 value, standard deviation, minimum value, and maximum value. Again, it doesn't really matter for the final outcome. So what do we do? What do we need to do? Well, first thing, we need to open a file, just simply like this, open, and where I'm going to save this file. Well, in my project structure, I like to, is probably just a little bit complicated for some of you, but I just like to keep my code inside. So this is my overall project. So this is the root directory. I like to have the code inside the code subfolder and the manuscript inside another folder, just to keep things separate. However, you could save this file wherever you want. You can save it on your desktop. You can save inside the project directory. I just like to keep it separate, so I have my code here where I analyze my data, and then when I output the results, I put this thing into manuscript, source, and then tables. Here is where I'm going to save my tables, okay? And later on, I will show you how to import those tables into LaTeX. So let's save this table for the moment. It's going to look slightly different from this one, and I will show you all the steps how to generate it like this one on the right. So in order to recap, here we have our data frame. Let's just print our data frame here downstairs in the terminal. So as you can see, I have all my users, I have the count, mean, standard deviation. So what I'm going to do, I'm opening this file with just writing, okay? This whole string is only to explain to the code where the file is located. So as I said, current working directory, manuscript, source, tables, and this is the output file. So in your case, you're going to change this because you're going to maybe save it in a different location. If I cancel all these, for instance, my file, so if I cancel this, my file will actually be saved in the source directory. But let's just leave it where it is for the moment. And I'm opening this file as TF, doesn't matter, we can actually call it file. So I'm opening this file, which does not exist at the moment. Okay, it doesn't have to exist. And I'm writing in this file what? I'm writing the data frame in which I select only 4 columns. I just want to show you 4 columns. You can expand it or remove some columns. And you just have to say to LaTeX. So that's the only thing that you need to put if you want to have a simple table. So let's see how it's going to look. So we run this code here in the Python console. We run our LaTeX file, and these are our results. So as you can see, we get the same data frame that we had just over there. We get it here into LaTeX. We didn't have to write this file. We didn't have to write this table, any LaTeX code to write this table, all automatic, completely from Panda. Okay, let's have a look at the output that Panda generated. So in the IDE, I'm just looking for this file. So table example. So I'm just opening up this file. This is the file that Pandas has generated for us. And just to prove you that that's actually true, I just generated. So let me cancel this file. Let's go back to the source file, now to the source code here where I generated this file. So let's run it again. So we run it again. We go back to the same file here, table example, and this is the file that actually has just been generated. Okay, so this is the file that has been generated, and this we can run it in LaTeX and get these results here. Okay, but let's make this table looking a little bit better, because of course this is not very nice. This user ID is the index, is like one row below, the other header label. So we're going to want to have all on the same level, and we want to round up the results. Okay, so how do we do that? Let's go back to the Python file, and let's look at the code that I have already wrote. So the file path is exactly the same, nothing changes here. What do? We extract the 4 column as before. Let me comment this one for a second, and I will show you later why I've shown you that example, because I think it's very nice and interesting. We're going to round the results, so we're going to keep only 1 decimal place. We're going to reset the index, okay, because we just want to have no index. Let me actually show you what actually means. So what we are actually going to get, so let me, okay, cancel this column here. Here we are. So round invalid syntax. So sorry, I just want to, yes. So this is rounding. Can you see? Now we have rounded results, so we don't keep all these digits here, which makes no sense. We just keep the first digit. We reset the index and we save it to LaTeX. Okay, so let's run this code. We run this code, we compile the LaTeX file, and here we get the results. So we can update a table without writing any LaTeX code, just by saving the file to LaTeX and then importing it into LaTeX, which I will show you in a second how to do that. I just want to show you a couple of more commands here because I think they are very interesting and useful. So let me go back here. Let me show you why I added this line and what these things mean. So index, we don't want the index. So that's what we actually said. We don't want the index of pandas. We just want the column. That's why we reset the index here. So in this data frame, we reset the index. So the user ID becomes like a column. And here we don't want to print the index. The caption is what actually the caption is going to be in our file. So this is our output file, the LaTeX file. This is the caption that we're going to see on top of the table. So of our table, for instance. So let's run this file and just see that the changes are reflected. So we compile it again. This is the caption of our table. The label is very important because when we're going to want to reference this table later on in LaTeX, we need to have a label. so we can specify specifically. We can type here whichever label we want. As a convention, usually you put tab, which is table, and then semicolon, table label. So you just have to specify what it is. So this, let's say CO2 data. Okay, you can put underscore if you want. Don't put spaces. Escape false. What does it mean, escape false? Escape false, in a second I will explain. And column format, how we want to format our column. So I want that they are all center aligned. Okay. If we specify, and the first one we put L, for instance, let's run this code again. Let's compile the file. So the user ID column now should be aligned left. Can you see the numbers have moved to the left? Finally, I want to show you what this escape actually means. So we can use normal column label as we have here, mean, max, and standard deviation, but we can also use LaTeX like math symbols in order to put extra symbol or just to put like this power here. So if we want to do that, we don't have to change, so we don't have to go and open the file that Pandas has created for us, and then here write is power of 2. But we can just simply go here, rename this column, so mean, okay. We are going to use this way, so you have to wrap this string. So we are going to rename the column, we're going to rename mean, and how is it going to look like our column? Is going to look like mean, so it's going to read like mean. The string is surrounded with an R, so we can actually put math code inside here, math LaTeX code, and we have to put the $2 symbol, and because we are using this symbol here, we can say at the power of 2. Okay, so let's change that at the power of 3. Let's generate this table again. Let's compile the LaTeX file. And now it's going to be a 3 here at the top. And then you can have like underscore, like here you can have subscript or superscript. Now you just have to just change and you can look how you can make it subscript or superscript. As you can see mean, and then it's just 3 here at the bottom. So let's see. So now we know how to generate this table example text. Okay. So now let's see how we can import this file, because I've already shown you the outcome, but let's see how we can import this file into our LaTeX file. So that's super simple. We just have to go into our LaTeX file. So we are inside here, main. Okay, main is my main LaTeX file. And inside main, I'm importing methodology, which is my section. Okay, so let's go and have a look how this methodology section file looks like. So we have a section tag, which I'm sure you're all familiar. You have the subsection. So you have the section, which is methodology. We have the subsection, which is this one. We have the text here. So let's actually duplicate this text. So we just put a little bit more text. This is just a placeholder. So let's add a little bit more text. Okay, so we have added a couple of paragraphs. Then we are importing our tables. Okay, the table, of course, since you are familiar with LaTeX, they will not appear here, but they will appear in the best location of the file where there is space for the table to fit. Okay, will of course appear after this paragraph, but will appear in this case in the next page because they are utilizing a lot of space, our tables. And how do we import the table? Sorry, I'm just scrolling left and right. How do we import the table? Very simple. Just input, and then we say specify the table, the file location. So you remember before that I saved my table inside manuscript, source, tables. So I saved them here. The reason why I saved them here, because inside manuscript source, there is my main text file. So now to access the table, what do I need to do is simply going and doing input. So from tables, so from this directory here, we import the table example that we have just generated. Okay. I just want to show you for last thing how you can add also tables which have multiple rows in the headers, like this one. Okay, so I will not go very much in detail how I generated this table, like how I generated the table from Pandas, because that's not really the important thing here. Is not just to explain how Panda works, but I'm just importing some data, I'm just doing some calculation, and I'm getting these results. So this is my final result. Okay, so what is happening here? So we get a table where we have some input data here, and we have let me show you. So we get the results from this calculation, which we are calculating the PMV, okay, and we pass as a header of the table. Okay, so that's just the same table as before, but we're passing an header which is made of two arrays. Okay, why is made of two arrays? Because we want to have these two rows in the header here. So the first one will have to repeat, so this input data, can you see, is repeated 6 times because we have 6 columns which we are referring to this input data, so they all belong to input data. And then we have ISO, and then we have PyThermal comfort. So one column for ISO, one column for PyThermal comfort. And then underneath, all the other columns are just the column that we want to show here. So how we export these? So first of all, we are assigning that to this data that we are getting, dot columns, we are setting this header, and then we are exporting as we just did before, okay? So you can do with open file. Another way is just to use the toLaTeX and specify the path where you want to save the file. You can specify it even inside toLaTeX, so you don't even have to do that in open file, okay? As before, you can export the caption, the label. Escape, we explained before, is just to keep all these math symbols. Columns format, all to have them centered, and multi-column format is centered. So we want to have all these multi-column format which are also centered. So we generate this, okay, we run the code, we compile the code, the LaTeX code, and we get this table here, okay? For instance, if we change this one, we remove this value. So let me just collapse this. Let me recompile this. So we run this Python file. We compile again the LaTeX, and now the 773 is gone. So using the same methodology, let's try to super quickly, just go back to the previous table that we were more familiar before, that I explained before. And let's try to add this header here, okay? So when we were here, we had this df, okay, which contain all our results, okay? Let's now say that df, so let's write a bit of code. So df equal to only these 4 columns, okay? So let's just comment this out. So df, so we are doing a calculation and we are assigning that df is equal to these 4 columns, okay? We define the headers, so we are going to copy them from below, header, okay? So we're just copying and pasting this one, and then we are going to change it based on our needs. So let's go back where we were in the code. Here we are, so we go in header here. In this case, we only have 5 columns, okay? Because we are going to reset the index. So we're going to have, or actually let's do it straight away. So reset index here. So let's just generate this again. Let's print the f, so we see exactly what we have inside. So we have the user ID, we have mean, max, and standard deviation, okay? So the header will be, let's say, for the first column, we want to have user, and then here we want to have like CO2, CO, and actually let's use math. So we type CO underscore open curly braces 2, and then we copy this column here for 1, 2, and 3 times, so we have 4, because we are going to have mean, max, and standard deviation. Okay, so at the bottom here, we just keep the same column names, so we don't want to change them. But the first one is going to be user ID. So let me change this one to, okay, so user ID. Save this file. Okay, so we are changing the header. So we say df.columns equal to header. Okay, so before our data frame is this one here, which is not a multi-index column, but now we're going to make it a multi-index column. Okay, so let's do that. Let's run this code, and now you will see that is a multi-index column. Okay, so we have user, which refer to this one, and CO2. Finally, let's save it. So let's go back here to see that nothing has changed so far. Let's remove this one, which we renamed the column, and let's remove this line here because we have already selected the relevant columns. So we are just going to run it. We are not going to reset the index, and we are going to save it to LaTeX. Okay. The only thing that we are missing here is the multi-column format that we specified before. So here we are. We are going to copy and paste this one here. Okay. So let's run this. So we are going to override the previous file. We are going to compile the file again. And here we are. So we have user ID, and then here we have CO2, we have mean, max, mean, and standard deviation. I hope this video was useful, and I hope you liked it. If you like it, please consider liking this video or subscribing to my channel. And if you have any questions, just please leave a comment below in the comment section. Thank you very much for listening.